All right, let's talk about ChatGPT. If you're in IT support, you're probably already using it. But the real question is, are you getting the most out of it? Today, we're going to break down a simple, structured formula and show you 3 specific prompts that will, no joke, save you hours every single week. Let's jump in. And this right here, this is the entire mindset shift. Most of us, we just fire off questions like we're on Google. But the real game changer is when you stop seeing it as a search bar and start treating it like a super experienced senior engineer who's always on call, never gets tired, and knows pretty much everything. That's the leap we're making today. So how do you actually do that? How do you make that change? Well, it's not some kind of magic trick or a secret password. The whole thing comes down to structure. It's about moving from a lazy one-line question to a well-engineered request that gives the AI everything it needs to give you back professional-grade work. And that brings us to the core of this whole thing, a universal prompt formula. It's a simple 4-part structure that you can use for almost any IT task you can think of. Okay, here are the 4 pillars of a truly great prompt. First up, you give it a role. Tell it who to be, like you are a senior site reliability engineer. Next, you give it context, all the background info it needs to understand the situation. Third, you give it a very specific task. What exactly do you want it to do? And finally, and this is crucial, you tell it the format you want the answer in, something like, give me the output as a JSON object. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, this sounds logical, I guess, but is there any actual proof that this works better? And the answer is a huge, definite yes. This isn't just a clever idea I came up with. It's based on hard data from what really works in the real world. And here's the proof. Researchers dug into over 2,000 production-level prompts from big companies like Microsoft and Uber. And what did they find? These 4 parts are the most common ingredients. The task shows up in almost 87% of them. Context is in more than half, and defining the output format and role are also super common. So this isn't a theory, you guys. This is a proven best practice straight from the industry. So let's put this formula to work. We're going to start with a classic pain point for anyone in IT support, digging through a giant, messy log file to figure out what on earth just went wrong. On the left, well, that's reality, isn't it? A wall of text from Sentry or some other logging tool that makes your eyes glaze over. But on the right, that's what our structured prompt spits out in seconds. A beautiful, clean JSON object that tells you the root cause, which service was hit, and exactly what to do next. We're talking about turning minutes of painful manual scanning into a few seconds of automated analysis. And here's exactly how we did it, using our formula. We assigned the role of a senior SRE. We gave it the log snippet as the context. We gave it a crystal clear task. Find these 3 specific things. And we demanded the format be a clean JSON object. See how that works? No ambiguity, just a solid request. Okay, next up, let's talk about something every engineer loves to do, writing postmortems. Kidding, of course, it's super important, but man, after a long incident, it's the last thing anyone wants to do. It just eats up so much time. Just look at this. On the left, you've got the typical brain dump from an on-call engineer, just a few messy bullet points typed out in the heat of the moment. And on the right, 30 seconds later, you've got a polished, structured draft of a postmortem, all ready to go. It completely transforms one of the most tedious parts of incident response into something, well, almost effortless. And would you look at that, it's our 4-part formula again. The role is a skilled technical program manager. The context is just the engineer's raw notes. The task is to draft the postmortem, and the format is super specific. Use these exact headers. It's this consistency that gets you that high-quality output every single time. And for our 3rd and final application, we're hitting a really high-value one, writing SQL. For so many teams, this can be a huge bottleneck, especially if not everyone on the team is a database wizard. And the results here are just massive. Uber built an internal tool that does this called QueryGPT, and they found it cut the time it takes to write a query by up to 70%. Something that used to take 10 minutes now takes 3. Just stop and think about that level of productivity boost, but scaled across your entire company. It's huge. Now, there's one little secret to making this text-to-SQL thing really sing. It's a concept called schema augmentation. And don't worry, it sounds way more complicated than it is. It really just means adding simple, clear descriptions to your database tables and columns. That's what gives the AI the business context it needs to know what customer lifetime value really means and which table to find it in. And boom, this is what you get. On the left, a normal human question. On the right, a perfectly written, ready-to-run MySQL query, plus a little explanation of how it works. This is amazing because it lets way more people get answers from your data without having to wait for a data analyst. So let's break it down one last time. The role, expert MySQL analyst. The task, our plain English question. The format, just the query and a quick explanation. But the absolute key here, the secret sauce, is the context. By pasting in the database schema, you're literally giving the AI a map of your data. That's what makes it so accurate. So, as we wrap things up here, what I really want you to take away is that this represents a fundamental shift in how we should think about this stuff. We're moving beyond just prompting and into a real discipline of prompt engineering. The real goal here isn't for you to go copy and paste these 3 prompts. It's for you to understand the architecture that makes them work. It's about learning how to build a great request by giving it a role, the right context, a clear task, and a defined format. Once that clicks, you can build your own powerful prompts for literally any task. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Think about your own day-to-day work. What's that one thing you do that's super repetitive, super tedious, just a grind? How could you use this 4-part formula to build a prompt and automate it away? That right there is where you're going to find your first big win. Thanks so much for watching,